We welcome you this evening into the booth. My name is Ian Fisher, and alongside me is Trevor McClure. And Trevor, this place now, or I'm sorry, Charlotte is known more for NASCAR. I wouldn't say as much as Daytona for GT3 racing, but really, this track has a lot in common with Daytona. It's almost a mini Daytona, if you will, as far as the road course goes.
I mean, it's this road course in this configuration is fairly fresh. It's known as COTA, the Carolinas, by at least one person. You're right. It does share a lot of similarities in the fact it's a road course inside of an oval. The track length's a bit different at 2.42 miles. Again, it's similar but so different to Daytona because it's obviously more corners, but there's much more elevation change. The corners are tighter. Track is narrower on the infield. The banking is significantly less than Daytona, and you've got more modern track design and layout on the infield, more similar to a COTA or a modern Formula One circuit, which consequently means it's very difficult to pass on. So we'll have the work cut out for these guys this evening, trying to get around one another and race clean, because again, this track, because of its nature, is challenging to the point of almost annoyance in some places. And again, without any real decent spots to pass, it's going to be a challenge for these guys who are trying to fight our front runners, Juan Salazar, Alfonso, the usual suspects here that start up front. So it'll be a good show here, but I think we'll see a bit of a messy start here, as tends to happen here, whether it's GT cars, NASCARs at the Charlotte Roval.
You mentioned the COTA of the Carolinas. It's a really good point as well. A lot more elevation on this track than you would actually probably expect with a relatively simple configuration we have here that utilizes the oval. And another thing I wanted to point out as well, and you probably are well aware of this with your real-life racing experience here, Trevor, no surprise seeing Bill Alberlin with a track record here with a 127.5 in real life in a BMW.
It's no surprise because he's hugely experienced, and even with his age, it doesn't seem to slow him down. I mean, there's no driver name on more BMWs in the BMW museum than Bill Alberlin, and obviously in IMSA he's got the most wins all time. I believe it's at 63 or 64, with sports car racing's Iron Man Scott Pruitt there at 61. So. Yeah, really not surprising there, but it's a track that outside of a couple of the corners really suits the BMWs, and we see that also in real life at Daytona, whether it's the GT4 based GS cars in the Michelin Pilot Series or the big in previous years M6 GT3s and GTD.
And watching qualifying a little bit here, Trevor, I'm noticing a lot of these drivers are having trouble with that elevation we kind of spoke of earlier. A lot of places here where the car could get really, really light going into the corners, and especially probably one of the rear engine cars, really easy to spin the back end around here.
Absolutely, and it really doesn't help that the infield, large majority of the infield is asphalt racing surface, line, dictates where the racing surface ends, and then immediately a concrete wall. So yeah, as you say, it's very easy to get the rear end light on these cars. We've seen a number of Porsches in the one shot that IMSA's had here with GT cars, put the rear end into the wall, getting light over some of these crests here, especially at entry to turn 1, exit to turn 2, going back out of the little elevation change there. So it's again, it's a very interesting dynamic. Kind of cool how they incorporated elevation change into a Roval. That's something you generally don't ever see. Homestead, Daytona, of course, in the infield, dead flat. So it's an extra challenge. Whether or not the drivers feel the same positivity for that challenge is yet to be seen. I think the guys that don't put it in the wall might agree, but those that will incur some damage tonight will probably be a little less happy to see that elevation change.
Well, speaking of the challenge, Trevor, these drivers are about to get down to our challenge this evening, which, of course, we're in the GT3 class here. It's going to be 60 minutes at Charlotte this evening, so a little bit different than our format we had last week with the heat races. Just 60 minutes here after qualifying finishes up, and you can see Bonnie the Flagman right there. Qualifying has just finished up. Mandatory 2 pit stops with at least 1 tire change. I know you're a fan of race strategy, Trevor. What would you do here in this situation?
Oh man, we're yet again at a track position track, not dissimilar to Montreal or Long Beach. And as we saw previous at Montreal, we had a couple of guys, JP Alfonso being one of them, that took the alternate strategy of taking the tire stop, the long stop first, stretching those tires out to the end. We'll see if that works here, but again, it's my inclination is going to be do that first stop, full service, tires, fuel, everything, and make that set of tires take you to the end.
I kind of have to agree with you here, Trevor. I know the load on tires are a little bit different, especially with the high banking on the oval here in the GT3 cars, but I would have to imagine that, yeah, you probably want to get that service done as quick as you possibly can. Relatively quick lap times here, just to put that in a perspective, about an average lap time of 1 minute and 16 seconds or somewhere in that realm. We'll get to your starting grid here in just a second, as cars are now just taking to the grid right now. On pole in the Ferrari is going to be Juan Salazar. No surprise seeing him towards the front of our field here this evening. Daniel Ott in the 62 Audi will join him on the outside of the front row. Tyler DiVincenzo in the 97 will be third. Jose Puig fourth. Kerry Cantera fifth. And JP Alfonso, the title sponsor here for our series, will roll off in P number 6. In the Porsche, Eduardo Aguiar in the 31 and Alan Bros of the 941 will join him on the outside of that row in the Ferrari. John Barry in the 7 car, the Porsche, will be the 9th position. In 10th position, Justin Knapp, 11. Matthew Lutz of the 18th. 12, Giancarlo Schleman. Interesting to see him this far back in the pack. Actually didn't take a qualifying time here. Philip Forrester, 13th. Mark Royce, 14th. Kyle Egger, 15th. 16th, Eric Bergdorf. 17th, Keith Frazier. And 18th will be Connor Webb. We got 19 drivers here this evening, and Don York will be your final driver here in your 19-car field. And right now, cars still getting ready to go racing here for 60 minutes at the Charlotte Roval here. And we haven't really talked about it much. So we can take a look at our weather conditions here. 70 degrees on the air temperature, 81 degrees, I believe. I can't read. I think I need glasses. Maybe you can help me out with that, Trevor. On the track temperature, and wind will be absolutely no factor here this evening. And one place we haven't really talked about yet is going to be that bus stop, especially with all these cars we have on track tonight. 19 cars, relatively deep field for GT3 racing. That's going to be definitely a place to watch for once we drop the green flag.
Either one of them, honestly, because we've got a bus stop on the back straight before NASCAR 3, as we do at Daytona. But we also have another one there on the tri-oval itself, just before start finish. So I think we're going to see a lot of overzealous and overly confident moves into both of those chicanes, especially early in the race when these guys are all packed up. So I suspect our car count by lap 3 or 4 will not be in the 19s anymore.
Yeah, I might have to agree with you on that one as well. Trevor Field will roll off here from their starting position 2 by 2. Going to be a full pace lap here this evening at the Charlotte Roval. So while we're taking the time here for all these drivers get warmed up and ready for this race, I want to give a quick shout out here to JP Alfonso Studios, the title sponsor here of our GT3 series tattoo shop over in Norcross, Georgia. A little bit closer than most of the tracks here in Charlotte, at least. So maybe if you're watching the race, go ahead and check them out. You check them out online, jpalfonsostudios.com. You can see all their recent work and booking information as well. Also, a shout out to our partners, Tam Livery and Hot Rod Setups as well. And then also a special shout out to Ron the Snack Guy, a sponsor here of Maconi Entertainment. Sent everybody a Christmas care package full of a bunch of tasty goodies. I don't know if you got one of those, Trevor, but there is some pretty good stuff in there.
Yeah, man, those are delicious. A nice little surprise here for the holidays.
What flavored jerky did you get, actually, just out of curiosity?
I can't remember off the top of my head. It's been a few days, and it's been long gone.
I had the apple moonshine jerky, which I will say, like, obviously not really any moonshine in there, but like that sweet of like apple sweetness flavor on bacon. I wasn't thinking that I would like it, but I actually did quite a bit. Trying to segue bacon into racing action. Hopefully these drivers can save their bacon all the way to the end of our racing action here this evening. You can see right now the field just getting into NASCAR turns 1 and 2. So we'll be heading down the backstretch here into our chicane that we mentioned earlier, the bus stop here on the backstretch of the virtual Charlotte Motor Speedway Roval, one of those places that is going to be a hot zone of action all night long here. You can see the pace truck will lead them through, even on the pace lap sometimes. A little bit difficult for drivers to get through here cleanly. So we'll see how everybody navigates this here on our pace lap. And then we'll go racing here for 1 hour of GT3 racing. Of course, 2 mandatory pit stops, and one of them has to be a tire change. So no winning our way with this race. Strategy is still something that you have to keep in mind. Everybody's going to have to stay honest with those 2 pit stops right now. Juan Salazar, Daniel Ott are going to be the 2 drivers on your front row here this evening, and they'll lead the field through our final chicane. Here you can see the shot with Barney the flagman ready with the green flag. This is an interesting starting position for these drivers. A lot of the drivers starting towards the back of our field here will have to navigate the chicane coming to the start-finish line. It's always quite interesting. And the green flag's waving here for the virtual Charlotte Motor Speedway for the GT3 Ignite Racing League Series here by JP Alfonso. Already 1 car in the back there. I believe that's Kyle Edgar having trouble already. A little bit of an issue we kind of mentioned there, Trevor. It's hard for those drivers to get going, especially when you have to navigate that chicane right away to the start-finish line.
Yeah, that's a really precarious placement of that chicane, because you can't not start or restart a race without a bunch of cars there with a lot of wheel in it. So yeah, really interesting stuff here. We got a couple of cars too wide here through the infield in this narrow infield, which is quite brave. We see that a lot in NASCAR, and it always ends in a wreck or somebody getting spun. So hopefully we can get through here nice and clean. Looks like the front pack has got through pretty cleanly here as we stretch out. We got Kyle Edgar there. He's back on track and catching the tail of the field. Looks like he's back on the horse.
Yeah, almost 3. Well, it was 3 wide there for a second. Now all 3 of these cars heading into the bus stop, and Kyle Edgar there is going to be the one that's going to lift and play chicken here this evening for the first time through our chicane. And you mentioned it side by side. I would say it's probably doable here in the GT3 cars, but you mentioned it, Trevor. There's almost places on this racetrack as we watch our drivers go through our final chicane here to complete the first lap for the virtual Charlotte Motor Speedway. Especially this turn 1 after this heartburn turn heading back onto the infield. Almost has shades of a street circuit here with walls on both sides.
Oh yeah, it's absolutely street circuit-esque there, with all of the risk and all of the damage if you get it wrong, and no room to do so. Really nice tidy front pack of 5 here. It'll be interesting to see. We've got some usual suspects here in Juan Salazar, Jose Puig, and JP Alfonso. We've got a couple of guys who have either been knocking on the door or who are new to this front position here in Tyler DiVinzano and Daniel Ott. So really nice to see some longtime drivers here shaking up that top 3.
Yeah, Ott and DiVinanzo doing a great job respectively here. You take a look at DiVinanzo right now in the Navy car here as they head back into the bus stop. And you kind of mentioned it, Trevor, this top 5 has really kind of broken itself out into our other pack here. 6 on back is kind of doing their own thing right now. I would say the closest driver is Kerry Cantera right now to this pack of 5 in the 6th position, only about a few seconds back right now, but really going back from there, almost 5 more seconds back to Schleiman there in 7th position. I'm surprised to see Schleiman this far back, Trevor. He came into this series and kind of took it by storm, winning the first 2 races he was in, but struggling here early at the Charlotte Roval.
I don't know that would be struggling, since he started 12th and we're working lap 3 now, and he's got himself up to the 7th position. So he's coming through the field, and the Schleiman Express is looking to join that front 5 there, and I think he's got the pace to do it, as he's displayed in every race he's entered so far. But yeah, very strange that he didn't take qualifying time right there with guys like Kyle Edgar, John Barry, and a few others. It was just very concerning they didn't take a qualifying time. But if anybody can make that non-consequential, it will be Schleiman here as he powers through in a Lamborghini, which is interesting. Last time I called a race, I believe he was in a Porsche, so looks like he's a man of many marks.
I was going to say multi-disciplined driver, and right now there's some battles going on back through the mid pack. Actually, we have trouble going through the bus stop actually right now. It looks like one driver around again. I believe that's Kyle Edgar having more issues here. That was heading through the bus stop. Not entirely sure what happened there. I just happened to look up and saw the tire smoke there, so maybe we can get a look at what happened. Actually, right here, I believe, is what happened. Two drivers just heading into the bus stop there, Trevor, and then it looks like just kind of a domino effect from there.
Yeah, it looked like he had a good entry, and the car that got into him actually had help from behind themselves there. So we had multiple instances of contact here, and Kyle Edgar, really brave move, but I think he had the line and the braking to get that done. It was just the car that hit him got hit from behind before, so it was definitely a little domino effect, as you said there. Tough luck for Edgar. It's not his day, but he's done it once, he'll do it again. He'll claw himself back into that fight and start getting positions back.
I didn't even notice that, Trevor. A little bit of a cue ball corner pocket action there, and unfortunately for Kyle Edgar, that'll drop him back down to the 14th position now. So not the run to the 47 camp was looking to have this early into our run. Just a little bit over 5 minutes have gone by in our racing action here. Remember, we still have those two mandatory pit stops. One of them requires a tire change here in this race, so still time for things to get very interesting. And speaking of interesting, that was almost a move there by Pooch on Divananzo there for position going through that second chicane. Pooch has the room right now and looked like he was going to take maybe a look through that braking zone and then thought better of it there, Trevor.
Yeah, that was a good choice there. Just keep applying the pressure, fill his mirrors with that Rosso Ferrari red. Hope he makes a mistake, but Jose, I think, might be feeling the pressure, not just from JP Alfonso behind, but Giancarlo Schliemann is right there at the tail end of that pack. We have a nice move by Jose, side by side here, going into the tri-oval. He's got it done. We have Schliemann there getting the same move done on Alfonso entering the banking. So lots of positional changes here, lots of stuff to watch, as we have Kerry Cantera now taking advantage of these cars slowing each other down, and they're now on the tail of Forster, Alfonso, and Schliemann.
Yeah, that battle between Puig and Divananzo there for third position really kind of bunched up this group here. This is a pack from about third on back to seventh, and he mentioned Kerry Cantera kind of rounding out that pack right now and now looking to possibly get his nose involved in this battle here. JP Alfonso's in this mix a little bit as well, and look at this as they go through the
Jose
chicane.
Indeed. Big wreck.
3 cars involved there. I believe that was JP Alfonso, Jose Puig, and then Tyler Divananzo right there. Divananzo probably got the worst of it, which is upsetting for him. Had such a good run going so far. Oh, Schliemann was involved as well there, Trevor.
Yeah, he was the corner pocket and the cue ball there. Really getting the worst of it. Jose went really deep here into the brake zone, couldn't make the corner, goes off, gets into Divananzo. Schliemann right into the wall very, very, very hard. Looks like Cantera and Alfonso made it through unscathed, though. That's good news for them, but bad news for our hard charger, the purple people eater there, starting P12. He's got a lengthy repair that's going to take him out of this quick race.
Oh, that's really unfortunate, too, because it looks like from the way that Schliemann reacted to it from that view, Trevor, I think he kind of saw it happening before it happened and tried to avoid. Just couldn't get out of the way there, and I believe now this is a replay of what happened again, but I do believe Schliemann is on pit road. I think he towed the pit road after this incident, so devastating for the 10 car this evening. It'd be really hard to go back to back, but still a great effort here in the early racing career of Giancarlo Schliemann, at least in the Unite GT3 series. But we go back up towards the front of our pack. Salazar, Ott, Alfonso, your top 3 now. Cantera and Puig, your top 5. After that incident, we saw that it involved a few of our drivers up here in the top 5. Going back from here, this is JP Alfonso now and Kerry Cantera battling each other here. This is going to be for third position here, your final podium spot. Alfonso's been a mainstay in his Porsche so far this race evening, but Cantera trying to reel him in now as we speak, Trevor.
Yeah, right on his bumper here in a couple of corners, and we'll see how much damage Jose's car has got and what that does to his pace here, but Alfonso and Cantera are going to be a really nice show to watch. Out front, Salazar has run away. He's 3 seconds ahead of Daniel Ott, a further 7 seconds ahead of this battle between Alfonso and Cantera. So as they stretch out here, I think these two are going to put on the best show here at the front of the field, and Jose might have a thing or two to say about that, running P5. But we might have a new arrangement of drivers on the podium this race. This will be pretty interesting to see, and Schlieman's misfortune is really good news for everybody, especially Juan Salazar, because he's now in the catbird seat with, in terms of pace, nobody really here to challenge him to claw back those 10, 11 seconds now that everybody's behind him.
Well, you mentioned Schlieman's misfortune, and I actually want to give you a pat on the back here, Trevor. You noticed that Schliemann was using a different car this evening, actually, and I got word here from Jeff Maconi that does a lot of our stuff behind the scenes for Maconi Entertainment. No prizes if you already guessed that one was coming. But actually, Schliemann was towards the back there. He got an EOL for switching manufacturers, actually, for this race, Trevor. So that's why he was towards the back of the pack, working his way up. And unfortunately, when you put yourself back of the pack, you put yourself in a risk where you can get together with other cars, especially if you're a car that's much faster, and try to work your way up to the field.
Absolutely. I mean, that's certainly a danger that we have in real life, in mixed category racing, and driver talent of all varying degrees. But, you know, it really didn't seem like the back markers were such a problem for him. It was, ironically enough, a lot of the front runners that got together in front of him and gave him nowhere to go that caught him out there. So, really tough luck from him. Clearly, he had a strategy plan in mind to switch to a Lamborghini for this one, and it was paying off. It just, the dealer won this round.
We go back on board. This is your leader right now, Juan Salazar. And last time by, he ran a lap time of a 1:16.0. And why that's significant, Trevor, is that was about a half-second faster than anybody else on the racetrack right now. His fastest lap time absolutely smokes the field. Well, not that much, actually. It's just a few tenths of a second. That's a 1:15.7 that he's ran so far. Next fastest lap time would be Daniel Ott with a 1:16 even. Or 1:16.1, excuse me. So Juan Salazar really been the class of the field right now, and you can see why, Trevor. He's just really smooth on these inputs, hugging that white line, kind of drifting up here. I wonder if he goes up to the top of the hill. No, he chooses to stay down at the bottom of that line there. I've seen some drivers actually kind of run out of turn 4 all the way to the high side there and then kind of roll down that hill. I don't know if that's something that would maybe gain you a little bit of momentum there.
Yeah, it would, but it's also increasing the distance at which you have to travel to get the same job done. So there typically is a trade-off, but a lot of times on these oval circuits, there's enough room, there's enough radius to the corner, especially that one, where you can hug the inside and not increase the amount of distance you have to travel, but also maintain higher speed. And that's clearly working for Salazar here. And as you said, he's just so smooth on these controls. And he's the one guy you can't just let run in front of the field and not have any pressure for the entirety of one of these races, because the outcome will be predetermined, as we're seeing here. He just doesn't make mistakes, and if nobody's there to pressure him, to help him make a mistake, he's likely not going to make one.
Just past over 13 minutes here in our feature race this evening. I'm kind of interested to see if drivers will straight just cut this at the 30-minute mark, or if they'll try to do something a little bit different for that first stop. Remember, they have to make 2 stops here. You're looking for a battle for 7th position right now. That's Eduardo Aguilar, and then Tyler DiVincenzo, after his troubles, battling there in the background of the other car that's in front of him right now. That's Philip Forster. So a 3-way battle here for around the 7th position. And this has been continuing here for a few laps, kind of spread out a little bit, was a little bit closer a few laps ago. And you see DiVincenzo falling off right now. Kind of while he was earlier in the race, Trevor, he was up towards the front of the pack. Now finds himself around mid-pack, and also the lap time starting to fall off of him as well. Probably had some damage from the incidents we've seen him in so far, but still hanging out there in the top 10.
Absolutely, and Jose Puig seems to have gotten away with that one. His pace hasn't really degraded any abnormal amount. He's still running relatively the same pace as Daniel Ott and Alfonso to their fast laps of the race. So good news for him. He kind of dodged a bullet there, but if he does have any damage, he's going to be that much. It's going to be that much more difficult for him to pass the cars that don't. And we see that he's really struggling to catch up to Cantera and Alfonso and close that 2 to 4 second gap he's got behind them. But we've seen him on some really good drives in the past, and again, that red Ferrari is always one to watch here. So we'll keep an eye on Jose, but as you said, really bad luck for Tyler there. He didn't do anything wrong, no wheels off. He just couldn't get out of harm's way there, unfortunately.
I guess it could be worse if you were Giovinazzo. Right now, we've had 3 retirees from our race: Giancarlo Schleman, John Barry, and then Connor Webb are your retirees so far this evening. Don York is actually running race control, so he is your 16th person in the session, but he is not a driver here this evening on your timing and scoring tower. So that leaves 12 drivers left on the racing surface. While we're getting ready for our first round of pit stops, we'll kind of go through the field here and let you know what's been going on. Juan Salazar is still the leader of this race, and pretty much not much to say from the drop of the hat. It's been leading the race from the pole since we got going here, so not much to say there. You can see how far of a gap he has back to Daniel Ott, who's currently running in the 2nd position. That's about a 5-second gap back to the Audi right now. Been a smooth race for him so far as well. Trevor has started in 2nd, still hanging around there in 2nd, and has a huge lead on our final podium driver. That's going to be JP Alfonso. He's the sponsor here for the Ignite GT3 Racing Series, so doing good in here for the name, at least so far in this race. Looking for another podium here on the season so far. Also looking for another good run is the 333 machine of Kerry Cantera, who's been chasing him down all through this race. They've been pretty much that distance that you see on your screen right now from each other this entire race. One driver that's had a little bit more close call with some other drivers has been Jose Puig. In the 8, you see behind him there as well. And the red Ferrari has had a bit of incidents with drivers, but seems to be still doing pretty quick laps around this racetrack. Actually had one of the quickest laps this last time by, so no problems for Jose Puig, even with the contact. From here, we have Philip Forster. He's in the 22 car, but he's in the 6th position. And look at how many positions that he has gained, from 13th all the way up to 6th. Of course, being helped by some incidents by some other drivers, but still a good run nonetheless. Eduardo Aguilar is the next driver aligned in the 31. The Porsche there out of Carolina started 7th, running in 7th. So just a good solid run from him. From there, another driver that's had some incidents so far this evening, Tyler Giovinazzo, in the Navy Porsche right there. I'm sorry, in the Navy Ferrari, excuse me. I can't read my logos, apparently. Heading through the bus stop right now, still in this race, so things could be worse for them as well. Kyle Egger, another driver that has had issues so far, is back now in 15th, or I'm sorry, in 9th position. He started in 15th, had a few issues coming through the field, but now finds himself in the top 10. Matthew Lutz in the 18 has just been quietly back there in the 10th position, just ticking away laps here in his Porsche. Nothing really to report out of that camp so well, and you can say the same about our 11th place driver, who is Justin Knapp so far. We had one other driver, Alan Brose, go on to pit road. I don't know if that was a scheduled stop or if he finds himself there for damage. I believe that was an unscheduled pit stop, though, if I had to take a guess, Trevor.
Yeah, it looks like he's out of the car and having a chicken sandwich at the session stand there on the infield. He's out of this race, it looks like. So we're down from 19 to 11. 11 remain. So we come to mere minutes and a lap or two from our first set of pit stops. So we'll see who just takes the fuel here and who goes for the fuel and tires, as we have Jose Puig almost take the wall there, but he has closed the gap to Kerry Cantera. We have the Italian Stallion and the Italian Bull here side by side through the tri-oval. Nice clean pass there. Good launch from Jose out of the first bus stop. Clean and tidy through the second one as they hit start-finish now.
Yeah, you know, speaking of hitting the wall, it looks like Cantera very close to the wall that time by, as you look back now from the rear deck light of Jose Puig back at Kerry Cantera after making that pass. It really seemed like he had the pace that time by, especially coming out of the bus stop, which is kind of surprising. You mentioned it, how he had the trouble almost getting into the wall there coming out of the bus stop, but still much faster than Quintera when they got back to the front stretch, at least that time round. Now Puig will try to set stale and put some distance between him in that 333 machine, but Quintera is not making it easy. And well, once you find yourself behind a driver like this, almost sometimes easier, you can kind of learn off of their braking markers. I don't know about you, but I kind of drive a little bit better with the carrot in front of me.
And a lot of guys and gals out there do. And it looks to me like Quintera's car is much better on the infield. Seems through the twisty bits and the brake zones, it's a bit better car. I just think that Ferrari's got a little longer legs here, and as long as you got a straightaway, especially on an oval here like this track does, all that Ferrari has to do is be just fast enough on the straights to overcome any advantage the Lamborghini has on the infield. But certainly, if Quintera's got some taillights to focus on, and that helps them and elevates their performance, this race is certainly not over by any stretch of the imagination. So we should expect to see our first cars hit pit lane towards the end of this lap, if not the next.
Yeah, just getting to the 20-minute elapsed time in this race here for the virtual Charlotte Motor Speedway on Maconi Entertainment here. My name is Ian Fisher, and with me in the booth is Trevor McClure, bringing you all the action here in the Ignite GT3 Racing League. And this has been a pretty interesting one so far. A little bit of a herky-jerky helter-skelter to start things off, but has really settled down now. Interested to really see when these pit stops we have coming up as Puig now makes his way past lap traffic here, to see who is going to take those tires and who isn't. We mentioned it, Trevor, that it's probably the better play to take the tires on the first stop, but they don't always listen to us, and sometimes they know better than we do.
Or so they think. Of course,
right.
That's how drivers work. But it'll be interesting here to see what their time deltas do to put them in traffic. It's a little shorter lap than they were at Montreal. So the one thing that you need to make the early tire stop work is clear track to take advantage of that tire stop, because either way you slice it, both strategies are going to be a double-edged sword. You're just choosing where your advantage is, whether you're going to take it now, whether you're going to take it later in the race. And so if you short stop, you really need to take advantage of those new tires by just laying down fast lap after fast lap after fast lap as soon as they get temperature and pressure in them, to open that gap, because you know that you're going to have to overcome 20 to 23 second deficit, and when they're sitting stationary, less time the second time around. So you've really got to make that advantage, and if you take it early, you need the clear track to take advantage of it. And if you take it late, you need the clear track to take advantage of it then to then hunt down the guy who's been running much faster laps on newer tires from the stint before. So it'll be really interesting to see here. But again, with the track position game being what it is, if I were an Alfonso going after Ott or a Quintera going after Puig, I would take the early stop, try to just throw down some Michael Schumacher qualifying laps and pass them, not on track but on pit lane, using the time deltas there. So see how it goes, but these first stops will be telling, as we have one of our first takers here, Philip Forrester, in 7th place. He was our hard charger at the beginning of the race, started 13th. So see what he does here in terms of pit stops, but really nice drive from him so far.
Well, and you're kind of talking about that track position and how hard it is to pass here. So kind of further extrapolating on your previous statement there about when you would pit and when you wouldn't pit, as Jose Puig there gets a little bit of the wall off your camera. It looks like he's absolutely fine, but had a little bit of a wiggle there as you see Forrester. Looks like fuel only that time for him, and he's back on the racetrack. So that's going to kick off our first round of pit stops here. My question for you, though, Trevor, would be if you were in the lead, say someone like Salazar and stuff like that, I mean, would you sacrifice the track position to put yourself back in clean air?
Yeah, I mean, it really depends on where he falls. I mean, if you're in the lead, and if you're in the lead by 5, 6, 7 seconds or more, as Salazar was, you can really do either way, and it's going to be inconsequential, because you're going to be able to control the race, control the track position. It's on everybody else who's trying to claw back up to you to do something different. And that's kind of the big responsibility you get as the leader, is you can dictate what everybody else can and will do through your actions. As we see Salazar there, very quick stop, so he took fuel only. He's opting for the late tires, so these guys that are chasing him down, Daniel Ott, maybe should have taken tires, but it looks like his stop of 21.8 is about the same there as Salazar. Looks like Alfonso also fuel only. Jose Puig there, Kerry Cantera. Everybody's fuel only here on the stop, it looks like.
I'm not disagreeing with you here, but I did see cars go up on jack stands, which I don't know, that could be part of just the fueling animation on iRacing as well. I thought potentially Puig and Ott took tires there. I guess lap times will tell us here in just a little bit, so I'm not entirely sure there. But you mentioned it, kind of similar times on the pit stops, if that is the case, Trevor. So yeah, not too much of a major advantage there, especially if you're one of these drivers like Juan Salazar that has had just the pace that they've had all race long. And I believe he'll actually hang on to the lead even with that pit stop last time by. So that was a good majority of your field that came down and stopped here around the 35 minutes left to go mark here for their first service. So we'll see how that shakes out in the grand scheme of things. Right now, this is for about third position right here. And this is a battle that's been going on ever since these two drivers got off of pit road. That's Kerry Cantera. And then in front of him, he's battling for position with Philip Forrester, who is one of our first drivers to come to pit road, Trevor. So interesting to see how this track position has kind of shaked itself out and how Forrester is able to use it to his advantage to gain a few spots here, even if just temporarily.
Yeah, you can see that taking the stop first has paid dividends, because it allowed him to get out on track in clean air, throw down some really hard lap times, and in that time delta, he's overtaken not just Puig, but Kerry Cantera as well, as we see here. And looking at the pit stop times, they only vary from 18 seconds to 21 seconds. So nobody's doing 3-second single tire, double tire, or 4-tire changes. So it looks like everybody took fuel based on the pit stop data, with the big winner here being Philip Forrester. But developing story, our longtime stalwart in second place, Daniel Ott, has dropped like a rock. He's currently sitting back in 10th. He does not appear to be on the racetrack at the moment.
Yeah, I was going to say he's grayed out on my timing and scoring screen, which usually means that a driver has disconnected from the race session. If that's the case, that means we only have 9 drivers left on track here battling for the rest of the 33 minutes we have here from the virtual Charlotte Motor Speedway on the Ignite GT3 Racing Series, presented by JP Alfonso Studios. And speaking of JP Alfonso, he's riding around in second position right now, just in front of this battle for your final podium spot. And again, he's found himself after this pit stop in a wealth of clean air. I think if he's going to have any chance of catching Juan Salazar at this point, he's given himself at least the best chance to do, though. But you still see there about a 15-second gap to Juan Salazar still.
As we've seen before with Salazar, he is absolutely ruthless in terms of pace. So really, as good as Alfonso is, he's got entirely too much gap to just brute force way back up to P1. And as we see here on the real-time caps leader, it doesn't get any lower. The number just keeps climbing. So Salazar, I think, is like as he was in Montreal and many races before. He's just cruising out front, and unless he makes a rare mistake, which we haven't seen, I think he's pretty well got this one cemented. And same with Alfonso. I mean, he's in a really, really good spot here. 7-second gap back to Forrester, who's still battling with Cantera. So it's really playing into his hands because he's in clean air. He doesn't have to look in his mirrors. He can focus forward, extract the most performance and speed out of the car, and do his best to open that gap back to second place. As we have Cantera, a nice little brush with the wall there at turn 1, as we said. As they go around, Jose Puig takes the position as Kerry Cantera finds themselves in the wall with more and more cars coming. And Lamborghini looks like it might have a spot of damage. Kerry's day might be over here.
Yeah, a little bit of damage there to the left front, at least from what I could see from our position. We'll see what happened here. They got him into trouble. I believe it was coming through the first corner here, transitioning down into the infield section of the racetrack here in the virtual Charlotte Motor Speedway. And we'll see what happened to Kerry Cantera in the 333 coming over the corner here in the Heartburn corner. Gets a little bit of the wall there. That doesn't seem to be too much of an issue, but I think when he got the wall there, maybe a little bit of steering damage. Yeah, you kind of saw how tight the car got on there.
And you can see Kerry just late into turn one, too late, misses the apex completely, and as such goes into the wall. They could have averted that by delaying the throttle, as they should have, but really should have turned in at the right moment, gotten the apex, and put the power on as they normally would, and they would have just missed that wall, but alas, they did not, and day is done. It looks like at least the race, a significant position here is done for Kerry Cantera. That leaves now only 8 of our original 19 still running on track on the lead lap.
Yeah, I feel like I'm almost in like the Hunger Games here of racing, at least at the virtual Charlotte Motor Speedway. We should have like the cannon going off. If you've never seen Hunger Games, this is kind of awkward because I'm making a whole bunch of references that you don't know, Trevor, but every time somebody's eliminated, they shoot off a cannon. And getting back to the racing action, because I feel like I'm going on a Hunger Games tangent here. Tyler DiVincenzo is hanging in there, man. I mean, he's like it looks like that was Egger that went around again, able to save it down on the apron section there. Not a full spin for the 47 that time, but a little bit of trouble there going back onto the oval section. And then I was just going to shout out DiVincenzo as well. A good run back up to 6th position, still hanging in there after his earlier incidents that we've seen.
Yeah, no, he's definitely someone who's had every possible problem, it seems like, on the day. Still be running around out there in the top 7 is quite remarkable. And again, they've had pace all day when the car's pointed in the right direction. So we'll see what Kyle Edgar can do. I think it would be great if he ended up at the top 5 here with all the bad things that he's had happen today, and he might just get it. We have the Navy car of DiVincenzo going around center track there too. Not the best place, but looks like they have managed to not hit the concrete wall, so the car might still be in one piece as we get a replay here. Just as he's driving away here, but that's going to demote him. Oh, yep. There we go. As we talked about earlier, it just looked like he got a little light, put himself in the wrong spot on the track. There he is through turn 1, little tank slapper, saving it. And masterfully spinning there to not touch the wall, so he lives to fight another day.
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to spin out, but that had it wasn't as impressive, but that had shades of Jimmy Johnson coming off a turn 4 at Dover and spinning it around and missing both walls there. Especially, we mentioned here, you can see how tight it is through this section. A really good job by Tyler DiVincenzo there to keep it off the wall and keep going. I mean, not what he wanted, but no car contact, no wall contact, able to keep all 4 wheels pointing in the right direction. I feel kind of bad for the commentator's curse, but a good recovery nonetheless.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Still putting on a show here for us. As it looks like, can go back to Eduardo. No, it looks like everybody has got quite a healthy gap in between them. Alfonso still 18.8 seconds back from the leader. Forrester a further 5 seconds behind him. Jose Puig 4 seconds behind Forrester. Eduardo Aguiar, as we follow along here as he enters the final corner before entering the tri-oval, he's another 6 seconds back. Edgar, our previous spinner there, another 7 seconds behind him, and Tyler DiVincenzo about 10 or 12 seconds as a result of that really gnarly but clean in the end spin there in the narrowest portion of the track at turn 1-2. Really spread out field here. We'll have to see what goes on, but I think unless another driver makes a mistake, we're going to end up pretty well sorted as Philip Forrester, the closest battle, if you could call it, on track, has put Matt Lutz now 1 lap down.
Yeah, and Matt Lutz there, give a call to him as well. I know he's running in last right now on the racetrack, but still finds himself in 8th position out of 15 drivers that started this race, Trevor. So really not bad, all things considered. He's had a few incidents, even recently there. You can actually see those tire marks in the grass. Were from a couple of laps ago from Matthew, but we kind of mentioned it. There's been drivers that have made a few mistakes, Trevor, but there's also been a few drivers that have made those mistakes. Divananzo is one of them that comes to mind, but hasn't made the big mistake that put him out of the race. And right now, that's the difference between him and 8 other drivers, actually.
Yeah, absolutely. And, half the time, half the battle is just keeping it out of the wall. And we're seeing that here, especially at a track that's precarious like this one with so many unique characteristics and so much variety of characteristics. As you touched on earlier, it's part oval, it's part road course, it's part street circuit with the proximity of the concrete walls to the race surface. There's elevation change, there's these decreasing radius corners, there's these awkward back-to-back decreasing radius corners, which for anybody operating a four-wheel vehicle on are incredibly annoying because they take performance out of the car, and you have to over-slow the car almost, it seems, when you're in the seat, negotiate them properly. Because the corners are getting smaller and smaller and smaller as you go through them. Let's Jose Puig go through here in the infield section. Again, hearkening a lot of the likeness to the Circuit of the Americas in Austin, Texas, with not just the paint, the patriotic paint on the outside of the track, but one of the modern style Formula One corners that we see here that are just really challenging, if not annoying, for the drivers, in my opinion.
Yeah, and then another part that is very challenging as well is you saw that transition from the infield back onto NASCAR 1 and 2 here. We've seen a few drivers having issues with that all evening long, and Pooch, one of them that's not having any problems really so far ever since his early kerfuffle there in the beginning of this race, has really just ran a really solid race. And you kind of mentioned at this point, Trevor, with the drivers that we have left, the skills are kind of getting separated out right now. Obviously, Juan Salazar is just the class of the field right now, and JP Alfonso finds himself in a comfortable gap as well. But I think we're going to see this at least through the rest of the race. Really, it's just going to be focusing, hitting your marks, not messing up that final pit stop when you finally come down and make it here, which I think will be in about 5 to 10 minutes for a lot of these drivers. And then just kind of hope that you played your cards right and your chips land in the right spot.
Absolutely. And there's instances in real life where we get into this, what I call the rocking chair, where you're just kind of sitting there, you're going back and forth, can't get the car in front of you, the car behind you can't get you, so you're just kind of turning laps. And what do? And the strategist in me going, what the hell can I do to change the outcome of this race, is looking at the rule book going, is one tire change all 4 of them, or is it one tire? If I were some of these guys towards the back and there was leeway in the rules, if they were maybe ambiguously written, I might elect to just take outsides, right side tires, in the final stop, if it were possible, just to shorten it up and try to gain some track position here. But whether or not that's legal, I'm not entirely sure. But kind of looking at the rules as they're laid out, it doesn't say one way or another. And in my line of work, if it doesn't say we can't do it, it's open to interpretation to some degree. So that would be kind of interesting if that were a possibility in legality terms, and see somebody try to pull it off.
That's I had to mute myself for a second there because I was laughing. That's pretty funny, actually, Trevor. If you could take just one tire on a pit stop, I don't think iRacing lets you just change individual. Well, I think they let you. I don't know. I think you change
this.
Insides and outsides. But
we've got a full course yellow.
Oh, really?
What? I'm not sure, but we've gone full course yellow.
Oh, dude, this is a good old NASCAR mid-2000s debris caution that Fox can't find on the camera feed. I love it, actually.
Yeah. Hang on, we've got... Oh, there's a competition caution, it sounds like, to allow everybody to pit one last time. So it looks like we're trying to manufacture, as you said, in the NASCAR fashion, a little bit of a 15-minute shootout here and not allow everybody to play the pit game. They're making an even playing field for everybody, and kind of resetting the field, and we're gonna have a 15-minute shootout with the last 8 cars that remain. 7 still in the lead lap here, so this could turn into anybody's game here, as we see the pace truck pulling out to pick up our leader Juan Salazar.
And I know in probably real life racing, this would probably annoy quite a few people, Trevor, and understandably so. And here we do have we do have the luxury of not having to worry about damage any race cars or anything significant like that. So I say, if it is a competition caution, I for one welcome our new competition caution overlords. This is exciting. I like this with about 15 minutes left.
Absolutely, it's definitely going to be better for the show, and like I've said this numerous times. Whether it's the strategy you pick now or later, all of this it's a double-edged sword. No matter how we slice it, and sure, if you're Juan Salazar and you had an 18+ second gap over P2 and it was just smooth sailing, this comes out, you're going to go, damn it. You're probably going to use a little more colorful language than that. But for me, if I were the guy on Alfonso or Forrester or Puig or Edgar's box, I would be screaming at the top of my lungs to the point where people would be concerned, because I would be ecstatic that, okay, now we've changed the tone of the race. Now we're back in it. Now we've got a shot. And that to me is great. So as somebody, I kind of came up in my early days with a lot of underdog cars, teams, and efforts. So I loved when stuff like this came out and gave us an opportunity to come back out. So I'm always for this, and like I said, it's literally my job to try to find ways to do this ourselves in a sea of variables where we can only control a few. So this is going to be a really, really interesting deal, because now, as I said earlier, Salazar is invincible when he doesn't have pressure on him. Now he's got Alfonso and Forrester and Puig right on his bumper going back to this restart, and everybody now has to take tires for the stop. So everybody's stop is going to be exactly the same length. So there's really not going to be an advantage on the pits. But if we rewind a little bit, if any of these cars now in the top 7 had taken tires in the first stop, their stop now under caution is going to be 20-30 seconds shorter than everybody else's. So they would actually cycle to the overall lead had they taken that stop. Granted, albeit on older tires. This is where my little right sides only strategy could have come into play easy, because if you've taken your 4, you've fulfilled the letter of the law. You could take 2 tires and still be good on the majority of the corners of the track, still have the same performance and advantage that everybody else does, but you're going to take 15 or so seconds quicker on pit lane, so you're going to leave before everybody and inherit that lead with at least 2 new tires. So it would have been really interesting to see somebody take that first full tire stop and have really the world given to them here, as we see that looks like Forrester here leaving his pit box first. He might actually get the lead here.
I think he did. It just flashed over to Forrester on ATV. Oh, there's actually a spin coming off of pit road.
Oh, man.
Oh, my goodness.
Tyler DiVenzano. Again, he's...
and Puig was involved.
Continue. Oh, maybe they were fighting for the same article of real estate.
Yeah, that's going to be... not... you don't want to do that, obviously, Trevor, but worst case scenario, you just get shuffled to the back of this field here, and it's still a 15-minute shootout when we go back to racing. And I did get official word from Don York, who's doing race control here this evening, is that the caution was to bunch everybody up, and then it's going to be a 15-minute shootout to settle it here at the virtual Charlotte Roval. And I'm not entirely sure if that means we're going racing exactly at the 15-minute mark, so we still got a little bit of time before we're going racing, or if it's just going to be roughly a 15-minute shootout. But irregardless, it should be exciting here, and I do like how they're willing to switch up the format from time to time and even play with the rules a little bit, just to make it exciting for all of us watching along at home.
It's good and it's bad, and in real life, as I said, if you're on the negative side of things like this, you're never happy about it. Firstly, there's going to be a field of guys that are pumped, but at the end of the day, show is going to be better, and that's really what matters. And Salazar just gets to continue putting on his driving away in clean air clinic here. unless guys like Forrester, Alfonso, and now is third place. Is that? Can't be Divenzano in third place after the day he's had. Let's see here. No, he's back a little further. Got
I believe
Forrester,
that's JP
Alfonso.
Alfonso. I think it's
Oh,
Alfonso.
we've got
Alfonso.
Lutz. Well, I'm looking at fourth. That's actually Matthew Lutz, who is scored one lap down. So he's actually he needs to get around Salazar to get back in the lead lap, unless he gets waved around here, which is possible. Yes, Tyler Divenzano is P4, the car behind the safety car. After the whirlwind day that he's had, that's pretty remarkable to find him up there. And of course, this puts guys like Kyle Edgar and Eduardo Aguilar there in the mix with everybody as well. So really, this reset button kind of erases a lot of the mistakes and the misfortune a lot of these guys have had the first 40 minutes of this race.
The lights are out on our virtual iRacing pace truck too, so we go back to green flag racing next time we see the start finish line here. And to kind of recap the field, set the story for you a little bit: Salazar, Forster, Alfonso, Divananzo, Puig, and Edgar are your top 6 drivers. All of them are on the lead lap, and then Lutz and Aguilar are what drivers one lap down right now, but still mixed up in the field as we go back to green flag racing. So I'm not entirely sure if they'll have, or if they're going to go ahead and form up with the rest of the pack. It looks like they are going to drop right now, as you see. That is going to be Divananzo scooting a little bit farther back to make position here. Now, one thing while we have a little bit of time to the start-finish line here, Trevor, as we mentioned, kind of like gimmicky things, and, you know, it's a double-edged sword and stuff. I'm sure you're familiar with the concept of a Joker lap in, like, rallycross racing, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so hear me out. When you're at the Roval like this, or maybe even at the Daytona Oval, you have your normal race, right? But like every 10 minutes or so, you have to take an oval Joker lap. So you just do the full oval, and then you come back and going to the, you know, the full road course. I don't know if it's like physically possible, but it would be kind of cool.
Would certainly make an interesting show. The first objection that anybody would come to mind is speed difference between the guys in the Joker lap on the oval versus the guys who are coming onto the oval from the oval be somewhere in the neighborhood of like 120 to 150 miles an hour, and there would not be an easy way to regulate that or make sure that they both get through without, you know, ending up in the grandstands.
It can be done. It can be done. Well, not safely.
Oh no, certainly not, but definitely can be done.
I would insert the that's the joke.jpg from The Simpsons McBain here with the closing distance. But speaking of jokes, gonna be no jokes for these drivers. That was an amazing. As we go back to green flag racing here, like I said, just under 15 minutes left of this race, so a good old-fashioned 15-minute shootout here. 6 drivers really vying for it seriously, but Lutz and Aguilar are still back there, one lap down. If things get really, really crazy here for these drivers, there'll be a 6-way shootout here. They come back to the start-finish line. Salazar has the field in hand, and we're back to green flag racing here for 15 minutes, the virtual Charlotte Motor Speedway, to decide it here between Salazar and Forrester. Forrester follows Salazar back in the turn 1. Salazar's had the speed so far, but Forrester actually gets all the way back to his bumper here. And for a second here, is going to be inside of him here onto the quarter, into the infield section here. They'll be side by side as they head down to this quarter section.
Buddy. Still on the quarter. Now they're door side by side. Forrester has the position. He's all clear. And now our leader, as he blows the corner, but Tyler Divenzano is here to take the mantle from Salazar as well, right on his bumper as they come back onto the oval. Forrester held that third place position over Alfonso and Kyle Edgar there, but really interesting stuff. Like I said, Salazar is invincible until he gets pressure on him. As we see Divenzano pulls out here going into the bus stop. They've tried this before. Nice clean there. They think better of it. Alfonso looking really aggressive back there with Jose Puig. Almost blows the bus stop, but a nice little 3-way battle here. And these guys really have to keep the pressure on Salazar, or he's just going to drive away, as we've seen time and time again. But Divenzano with that early little schmozzle with Jose Puig and Schliemann there, possibly damaged car, still fighting here to stay within 5 car lengths of the leader, but now he's got Forrester all over his bumper.
Forrester all over his bumper, and Forrester even for a time looked a little bit faster than Salazar there going through the infield section, but kind of overdrove the corner there, going into that first sets of wide sweeping turns they have in the infield, and was able to give the position up to Divinanzo. And you kind of mentioned it, Divinanzo probably dealing with a damaged race car right now. Did have a little bit of right side damage the last time he came past our position here. Trevor, you see him right now battling a Forrester, still able to hold him off a little bit. But Forrester, I does say, has a little bit of speed right now.
Yeah, again, that Ferrari's got those long horsey legs here on the straightaway, so walk away a bit. The Porsche really show its strength here on the infield, as we saw with Salazar v Forrester a couple laps ago. So really, Forrester's best bet is to do as best he can, stay on the bumper on the oval, stay in the draft as best he can, don't break it, then really let that Porsche shine on the infield and see if he can get a nose underneath Divinanzo. If he can't take another crack at Salazar, really great driving from him, really nice effort. I mean, started 10 spots back in 13th, and now he finds himself on the podium fighting for the lead. As it looks like the pair of Divinanzo and Forrester are catching Salazar ever so slightly here.
Yeah, they might be able to use that slipstream to a little bit of their advantage, especially on the oval sections of the racetrack. You go on board with Forrester right now, trying to chase down Divinanzo after giving that position away. Had a little bit of a moment on the there. A good recovery will now to try to set sail again. But each little bit of this momentum that you lose is going to be under 10 minutes left in this race by the time they get back into the stripe here. You're running out of time here to make mistakes, and you really got to make a move, I would say, pretty quickly if you're going to catch Juan Salazar.
Yeah, absolutely. This would be the point in real life where I'm jumping off the box and going down to Divinanzo's pit lane to go, hey guys, let's work together. Let's use the draft. Let's catch him. Let's get it a 3-way battle for the lead and then start racing each other. Start working together, because I think it's going to take both of them doing that to even stand a chance here with Salazar, as he's now feeling the relief of pressure. That's just going to make him faster.
And Salazar is not blowing the doors off them right now as far as lap times go. It's only about a few thousandths, or I'm sorry, a few tenths of a second difference between the two drivers, which of course is a lot, but it's not like he's beating them by seconds every single lap. So I do agree with you. If they could work together, they could probably find those few extra tenths a second, at least to stop the bleeding right now. And then where do you go from there is the actual question. Is Juan Salazar continues to be out in front of this race, just under 10 minutes left to go, and 9 minutes and 15 seconds to be exact here from the virtual Charlotte Motor Speedway, the JP Alfonso Ignite GT3 series here in, I believe, week number 4 of competition. Actually, week number 5, excuse me. And looking for another winner here with Juan Salazar this evening. Has been so very, very dominant, and really just has to hang on for the final 8 minutes and 51 seconds here. He'll be able to add another win to his resume.
Absolutely. It's no surprise there, but surprise for me has really come from Tyler Divinanzo. Like, almost as dreadful a day as you could possibly have. He finds himself running second here. And Philip Forrester, really nice effort there in third. They're pulling away from Kyle Edgar in fourth, who's had a great drive, himself starting 10 positions back in 14th. Our man, JP Alfonso, seems to struggle now to find the pace that he had earlier, and he's actually falling back behind Edgar, and even further back now. Possible issue. We'll try to find out what happened, but Jose Puig isn't even to the start-finish line yet. He's about 20 seconds behind Alfonso on the track, so definitely something went wrong for him in a big way. But here we see Divinanzo's halved that lead that Salazar had. It looks like Salazar is maybe struggling a bit to keep his car where he needs to and to hit the apexes. So we'll keep an eye on it. But again, the interesting thing is Forrester's hanging right there with him. Needs to find a little bit more speed to close the gap, but Kyle Edgar go. We've lost our 4th place car as well, it looks like.
Like, Kyle Edgar looks like has towed it back to pit road, and I'm not entirely sure what's happening with Jose Puig as well. Looks like possibly issues for him. I'm not entirely sure, or connection. They just kind of keep blinking in and out of the session here. We'll see what happened to Edgar. He towed it all the way back to pit road, and
Oh,
Yep,
wow.
that'll do it.
That'll tear an axle right out of the gearbox. But he was making really, really great time there. He was closing up there on Forrester and DiVinzano. It was going to make it a four-way battle for the top three positions. So really bummed to see him doing that because he had such a great run prior to that. But yeah, then there were effectively 5 on the lead lap with Jose Puig in P5 here as we ride along.
And Puig, actually, I'm not entirely sure what happened to him as well. This might be, oh, wow, does the same thing on the opposite wall, basically.
Yeah, it looks like he's found himself in pit lane as well. So, I mean, for all intents and purposes, we have 4 cars left on track, and we started with 16 of 19 entries.
It looks like maybe issues here for Aguilar as well. Oh, yep, that'll do it as well. That put the car up on its side there. A hard hit for the 31 of Aguilar. And wow, I mean, in the last 6 minutes of this race here, Trevor, everything's happening.
And just as you said, Matthew Lutz has maybe not had the big pace. But he, in about a lap's time, is going to find himself running 5th. Which is great news and really awesome effort for him. This has definitely been a day where impressive result is going to come from just not putting it in the wall.
Yeah, this will be one of those races where I was just really slow and about 5 seconds all the pace all night long. But I didn't crash, and so I managed finishing like 3rd. And I wouldn't tell anybody that's how I finished 3rd. I would just tell everybody that I finished 3rd. And all jokes aside, they really don't care how you get it done as long as you do get it done. And the driver who's trying to get it done right now, at least for the race win, is DiVinzano, still battling here with Salazar. They actually have some pretty identical pace as far as the last couple of laps go. Salazar just a touch faster right now, and that's really not going to help DiVinzano at all. That looseness going there back onto the NASCAR oval. But he's giving it a shot here.
No, he's been really impressive to close that gap down. At one point, it was about where it is now at 1.2 seconds. It was as little as 0.2 seconds before he had that little power down wiggle going on to the oval. So we'll see what he can do here, but he's really got to start setting sail. If he's going to catch Salazar in the next 5 minutes here, but also keep himself out of the danger zone with Forrester looming in his mirrors.
And just under 5 minutes left in the race now, and you mentioned it, Forrester now challenging DiVinzano, at least within the area code, to give him a little bit of problems here before the end of this race. That is going to help Salazar to just increase his lead now to about a second, almost 2 seconds now over DiVinzano. You can see the gap right there, but DiVinzano now has a windshield or a mirror full. Forrester, I should say. So that's going to be something to watch for the rest of this race as well. JP Alfonso has managed to work his way back up into 4th position after the troubles there that Puig had. Puig was in front of him, but Alfonso able to gain that position back. Now finds himself in the 4th position, but this is going to be the battle to watch probably for the rest of the race. For your final podium position right here, it's the battle between Forrester and DiVinzano.
Yeah, I agree, but I don't think that's going to be a 2-car battle by the end of the race, because while there aren't many cars left, the fastest car on track right now is JP Alfonso. So this gap is only going to continue to close as they battle harder and harder with each other and slow each other down. As you've got the Porsche literally pushing the Ferrari out of the bus stop onto the tri-oval. Right on the bumper, this is not what DiVinzano wants, because that Porsche is much more nimble. Equalize the advantage of the Ferrari as he runs wide on the curbing into the wall. No wing. That's going to be day done. Alfonso into P3.
And then there were 3, I guess, Trevor, because that's going to leave Salazar, DiVinzano, and Alfonso, the 3 drivers left on your racetrack that are going to be on the lead lap right now. Unfortunately, that's going to put Forrester 1 lap down as well, and just battling hard for the lead here at the end of this race with just 2 minutes and 50 seconds left here from the virtual Charlotte Motor Speedway. And another one bites the dust. Really, we've seen it all night long. It really hasn't been between 2 cars. It's just been people running turns wide.
That's it, and there is still enough time left. Matthew Lutz to overtake Philip Forrester, get his lap back, and take the 4th position here. So as long as Lutz keeps it clean, keeps it out of the wall, it doesn't matter what his pace is, he'll find himself finishing 4th here. And if there's any misfortune from the front runners, as we see JP Alfonso catching up Tyler DiVinzano, there might be a little nose-to-tail battle here at the end. There's an outside chance that Matt Lutz finds himself on a podium here today.
Yeah, anything could happen, and we've seen crazier things happen so far. I don't want to jinx our leader, Juan Salazar, but there's even time left for him to make a mistake. So, yeah, you're right with how this race has gone. It's really not going to be over until they wave the checkered flag. I know that's a bit of a cliche, but it was from what we've seen this evening. This isn't over yet, even though there's a minute and 45 seconds left.
Absolutely. I mean, even looking at last year's, or this year's rather, Daytona 24-hour, it went to last time through the bus stop, last lap after 24 hours for the GTD leaders to decide their race. So, we could have something similar here, as close to Divenzano and Alfonso are to each other. It can take one miscalculated lunge, and they're both in the wall. And we might have the rare occasion where there's 3 cars on the podium with only 2 running at the end.
Have you ever seen that happen in real life?
It's happened in Formula One. Actually, it was as we have side by side in the bus stop over the curb. Divenzano goes. He's not happy about that. He gets underneath Alfonso. Better run there on the exit. Hopefully, he didn't damage that floor too much, but he's taking the position back. But I think that's a temporary condition. We're under a minute left, so we're gonna get this lap completed and at least one more. The fireworks show is not done yet, fellas.
Oh, actually, when they went by there, I did see the white flag out in Barney the Flagsman's hand. So it really is the final lap. I thought there was going to be one more as well, Trevor, but this is the final lap here this evening from the virtual Charlotte Motor Speedway Roval. So we'll see if Alfonso can do anything to Tivenanzo now. He was able to get there last time by, especially through the bus stop, and you can see the run that the Porsche is getting here through the infield section. But of course, the advantage of the Ferrari when they get back to the straightaways is going to fall back into his favor. We'll see what happens here with about a half a lap left.
That's really going to be contingent on who gets the better exit here. Looks like they're fairly evenly marked. Alfonso has a little run here. The draft, we'll see what that what that develops into here. Certainly could be fireworks here into the final bus stop. One last time around.
And while this battle rages on here between Divinanzo and Alfonso, I mixed both of them there. It's going to be Juan Salazar, who's just dominated from start to finish. He's going to come across the checkered flag and be your winner here from the virtual Charlotte Motor Speedway in the JP Alfonso GT3 series. Here's this side-by-side.
Not done a little contact
for second
here.
and third position. Oh, Alfonso on the wall. Divinanzo on the wall. They're going to cross the line. I think Alfonso's actually going to get it. But both of them come together, coming across the line. Not exactly the situation with Matthew Lutz we were speaking about, Trevor, but it almost happened.
Oh, it certainly was close. And let's see if we can get a camera on this, get a replay of that finish, because it was definitely a photo finish.
We can see right here, this is coming out of the final NASCAR corner here into this chicane, and let's see how big of a send this was here. Oh man, really sending it there was Alfonso, and able to get it done. I'll give it to him. He got the position, but I don't think he was trying to do it quite like that, Trevor.
No, and you know what? You look at that replay, and he didn't do anything nefarious or off color going through that final chicane. I mean, the door was left open. Divenzano actually even gave him more room there, and I can't fault Alfonso for taking that, and I don't really see anything bad about that. I mean, Divenzano probably should have closed that door a lot earlier to take it away from him, but he sees himself there. I don't see anything wrong with that. I mean, Alfonso did everything right. He didn't do anything nefarious or dirty. It was just a couple of guys fighting for the same bit of real estate, in my opinion.
Yeah, I have to agree with you there as well. If JP Alfonso, that was an aggressive dive to the inside there, especially going through the chicane, but it's the final lap here. I mean, what are you really going to do, especially after the race that we've had, battling for podium position there? So yeah, no fault to either of the drivers, I think. as well. We'll get on your podium interviews here in just a little bit, but we'll take a look at your full field results here for the virtual Charlotte Motor Speedway on your screen here. Juan Salazar, of course, is your winner, and we'll get a chat with him here in just a second. JP Alfonso, your second place finisher, and then Tyler DiVinanzo after that massive finish back to the line. You see how small the margin of victory is. He'll finish in third position. Matthew Lutz, a great job from him to just hang around into a fourth position finish. Philip Forster, fifth. Jose Puig, sixth. Kyle Edgar, seventh. Eduardo Aguiar, eighth. Kerry Cantera, ninth. Daniel Ott, 10th. And then back from here, Justin Knapp, Alan Brose, Jean-Carl Schillman, John Barry, Connor Webb, Don York, Mark Royce, Eric Bergdoth, and Keith Frazier. Don York, of course, race control. So I don't believe he got started here this evening. And the rest of your drivers did not start this evening from the virtual Charlotte Motor Speedway. So we'll go ahead and hop right into our podium interviews. And we have our winner here, Juan Salazar, from the virtual Charlotte Motor Speedway this evening. And Juan, that looked like a Sunday drive for you. Tell us a little bit about it.
Well, after last week, I felt the need to show JP who's the boss. I'm kidding.
Oh, that was the man. Long Beach, wasn't it? That was the Long Beach incident. Yeah. Oh, yes. Yes. Yeah, you got to show him. And you did show him. Good job.
Yeah, he got a big head after last week. So, got to put him on his place. I'm kidding, guys. I'm totally kidding. No, man, I got lucky that Giancarlo got sent to the back because he changed cars. He was pretty fast. So he got put in the back, and I guess somebody ran into him. This is one of those tracks where if you get track position early, you got a good chance. It's a narrow track, walls everywhere. So yeah, I just try to get track position early and keep it.
Well, and you did. I mean, from the drop of the hat all the way to the checkered flag, you were the winner. Talk to us a little bit about that competition caution. Was there any discussion with the you drivers beforehand that might be happening, or did that catch you off guard at all?
There was a discussion about it. I was against it. I thought it was going to kind of interrupt the flow of the race. But listen, it worked out. Got us all together again. I think a lot of people crashed out of the race, so wasn't that many of us left. I think it was good. It was all right.
Yeah, there was 3 cars left on the lead lap. So you, JP Alfonso, and Tyler DiVinanzo were the ones that actually finished on the lead lap. Everybody else finished at least one lap down or did not finish the race. So yeah, not only do you survive, you come home and finish first. We do have JP's interview next. Anything you want me to pass along to him, Juan?
No, no, I don't want to rub salt on his wound. No, it's okay.
Well, that was Juan Salazar, your winner here from the virtual Charlotte Motor Speedway this evening. I appreciate the time here, Juan, and go celebrate your win.
Thank you, guys.
So that was Juan Salazar, your winner here this evening. And we'll go ahead and bring in our second place finisher, JP Alfonso here. He's standing by with Trevor after an amazing finish.
AP, man, really nice survival out there. I don't know if you could call it a drive with just 4 cars running at the end. Tell us about that last corner move, man. Really bold to take the second place.
Yeah, I mean, I knew that was my only shot. I didn't realize how many laps we had left because actually my crew chief was turned off for some reason, and so I figure that we should be reaching the end. I noticed that I was finally finding the pace to move a little bit faster through the track. I was catching up to Kyle, and definitely I decided to take a rest, take a chance, and and see how did it come out.
It was a really bold move. We watched the replay here a few times, and from the outside looking in, it didn't look like you did anything wrong there. Just saw an open door on the last corner, the last lap, took it. And it just was what it was. A couple of cars going for the same piece of real estate coming to the checker, and really exciting finish. Tell us about the early on in the race, and even there on the restart, you dropped as low as 6th, which I think was the last car in the lead lap, and you covered in the last 6 to 8 minutes to find yourself second. What was going through your mind when you were running basically last?
Yeah. Actually, what happened was, trying to, have a quick start. I missed the gear, so I didn't shift to second. The car completely revved, and I lost, a huge amount of time, in that moment. And I can't remember exactly who it was, but I think it was Kyle Edgar and somebody else who were behind me. They really took the inside. I think it was in turn 6 and turn 11, 10, 11, I think it was. They I had no other choice. They backed out, and they defended. They took that position, and I said, well, hopefully I can manage to catch them. They will make a mistake. I mean, this track, I already learned my lesson. No matter how fast you are, the key here is to stay, again, like Long Beach and Mount Panorama, and and any other tracks. The key is to stay on track. Make sure you don't hit anything. If you get too comfortable or too cocky, definitely this track will punish you. And so I was hoping that the guys in front will make a mistake, and that will open the door and for me to gain some spots.
Yeah, you certainly had a little bit of help out there, but I think after you had that restart bobble and the first time lap wasn't particularly great, you were just living in the low 16s, and by far and away for like 4 or 5 consecutive laps, you were the fastest car on track. So it was not without your effort there towards the end. Get yourself back up there, but really impressive. Nice way to handle the adversity. Even a mistake like that, it's really easy for drivers to get in their own head and not focus forward, and you clearly shook that off and drove forward, which was really nice to see. So congratulations on the second place finish here, man. Nice work again, and once again, nice survival.
I really appreciate it. And again, once again, thank you to you guys, all the broadcast team, Don York, and all the guys in this league. They definitely put up a very professional race every week. And even if they fight very hard, they try to keep it as safe and professional as possible. So,
Man, again, congratulations. Nice work on yet another podium finish.
thank you to you guys.
Right,
That
and
was
we have our
JP. Sorry, go ahead.
Hey, Tyler, you going up? You going up?
our third and final podium finisher, Tyler DiVincenzo, who is standing by with our man Ian.
And Tyler, what a crazy race for you, man. Up and down all night long, and yourself there coming to the start finish line with JP Alfonso. Talking a little bit from that finish from your perspective.
Yeah, I knew he was about maybe, I don't know, 7 cars back, but I knew he was going to try and dive it in somehow. And yeah, I saw him coming last second, and I figured I'd give some room just so we didn't wreck. And yeah, that was an awesome finish. It was really close. I was hoping I'd be able to hang on to position number 2, but I was able to settle with third, so that was good.
Well, and after battling your way back through all the incidents you had in the race, how was the car handling? Did you have trying to fight your way through, or was it a good car for you all night long?
I had a bit of damage from when me, Jose, and Giancarlo got together earlier in that race, but car was pretty low. I was sliding around all over the place and bottoming out, so it was very understeery. So it could have been better, but really happy with how it played out.
Well, good enough, like you mentioned it, for third place here this evening. Looking forward to the rest of the races you have on the season. Any stand out to you? You looking forward to anything?
I'm honestly looking forward to the Red Bull Ring. That's one of my favorite road courses. So yeah, hopefully we can carry the momentum onto there, which I think is the next race.
Well, that was Tyler DiVincenzo, your third place finisher here this evening from the virtual Charlotte Motor Speedway Roval. Tyler, your time. Anybody you want to thank here for getting it done out there on the racetrack?
Yeah, for sure. Can't thank JP Alfonso, Donnie Hot Rod Setups, and of course you guys from Maconi for putting on a great broadcast.
Well, we appreciate your time up here, Tyler. Go celebrate your podium finish. And now I believe here, and correct me if I'm wrong, this is Matthew Lutz, correct?
Yes, it is.
This is Matthew Lutz, and he's standing by right now with Trevor.
Last survivor, man. Nice job keeping it clean. That was a tall order for at least 12 other cars out there. So walk us through what was going through your head as you saw all these cars around you dropping like flies.
Well, when I saw them dropping like flies, I was like, okay, maybe if I just keep pushing on, because I knew in the back of my mind, I was like, I do not have the fastest car, and like Charlotte Roval is not my best track. So I was like, okay, let me just keep motoring on and see what I could do. And luckily, I came home P4 tonight, and I'm really happy about it. So it was my first time racing this league, so that was fun.
Nice, yeah, very nice introduction here. Certainly, it's not a common occurrence to have only 4 cars running at the end, but you did a really nice job, man. And this is not the easiest place to keep a car clean.
No, it isn't. It was like during practice, I was like, I could not get one lap in. I was like, what the hell? I was trying everything, but I was like, let me just get into my own mojo and do my own thing. I was like, okay, let me just bring the car home and be as safe as I was tonight, and I did. I'm happy about it.
Excellent job, man. And sometimes in the real world, it's enough just to not be last and just to keep the car straight and in one piece. And that was all you had to do today. I mean, certainly, as you said, this isn't your favorite track, and your pace showed that. But in the end, it really didn't matter because you outdid and outlasted a significant margin of the field. So once again, nice work. Welcome to the league. Really nice job out there, man. Talked about you quite a bit because you just kept sneaking up the leaderboard here, there, and everywhere. And you were out there. We had a three-way battle for the lead effectively, and just out there turning laps. So it was cool to see that. Really nice underdog story, man. Congratulations once again on your 4th place finish.
Thank you. That was a lot of fun, and I hopefully sooner or later, if I can get this series down, I'll be hopefully talking to you guys more often.
Absolutely, look forward to it, and practice makes near perfect. So keep at it, man.
I will. Thank you very much.
Cheers.
And that's going to do it here probably for our podium interviews. Looks like couldn't quite get Philip Forster this evening here, so we're not going to touch it with our 5th place finisher. But Trevor, that was one heck of a race here for the Ignite GT3 Racing Series presented by JP Alfonso Studios. You can check out www.jpalfonsostudios.com. I didn't expect that many drivers to not finish this race, but it ended up coming down to a war of survival, really.
Absolutely, and this is one of those rare occurrences where that was what the track wanted to give us. It wanted to give us as few cars as possible finishing the race, and that's what we got. But looking back, it was a lot of action going on. Even though we had that one lull where all these cars were 4, 5, 6, 7, 10 seconds apart from one another. Tyler DiVinzano, I think, was in nearly every wall at one point. He had a couple of incidents with cars either cutting the course on him or turning down on him. He spun himself, nearly tagged the wall. I mean, if he got the concrete wall there at turn 2 at any point in that spin, that would have been day done, and we would have had Matthew Lutz there on completing out our podium there, and only 3 cars running. So really wild stuff. I mean, Alfonso falling back literally as far as he could on the restart there to a titan of the series, Giancarlo Schliemann, was completely falling out because of an incident he couldn't avoid. And we got to give a shout out to Kyle Edgar, who didn't have the day that he wanted, but he actually holds the fastest lap of the race at a 15.6. So he bettered Salazar, bettered Alfonso, bettered Schliemann. Fastest guy on track today was Kyle Edgar, but again, he was one of those. The track just didn't want him to run clean today, and he found himself sitting in pit lane.
Yeah, it's such a pointed point that you bring up as well. That Edgar, the fastest lap of the race, not only that, he gained 7 positions from the start of the race to the finish. He was only bested by Matthew Lutz and Philip Forster in that department. But after that war of attrition we saw here from the virtual Charlotte Motor Speedway, it's a 2-week break for the Ignite GT3 series presented by JP Alfonso Studios. We'll go racing again January 9th in the new year, and that'll be at the Red Bull Ring here for our GT3 series. So on behalf of JP Alfonso, our series partners Tam Liveries and Hot Rod Setups, my name's Ian Fisher. Alongside me in the booth this evening, was Trevor McClure, Eddie Smith, pressing all the buttons up in the virtual production booth. And of course, on behalf of Jeff Maconi, we'd like to thank all of you for tuning into this presentation of Maconi Entertainment and congratulate our winner, Juan Salazar, on his victory from Charlotte here this evening.